Hello Kit Kats, welcome back to my channel. Today we are creating a Canotila, which is Lakota for wood spirit. We're going to start by getting rid of the excess oils on our forehead because we are using scar wax and you need to be oil free. So start by forming your scar wax into a little vine-like shape. We're going to use spirit gum to attach it, so I always find it best to decide where I'm going to place it first and then place a marker so I can put spirit gum in just the right spot. And you sort of want this to dry and be a little bit tacky before applying. So I always get the first one ready and then work on the second one and then go back to the first one when it's set and ready to go. Next thing you're going to do is smooth out those edges. Now I use a combination of both metal and a Q-tip with a little Vaseline. Vaseline is fantastic for smoothing out scar wax. It makes it super easy to do, makes the scar wax really malleable. And with the metal, you're able to create shape and form. Now, I always find it best to place latex over scar wax to keep it in place because once your face starts to move, it's very easy to break the seal between the scar wax and the spirit gum, so a little latex over the top will prevent that. So now that my roots have grown in, I can go ahead and put my base foundation on. And then I started my eye look with the NYX Ultimate palette. And I followed that with the NYX Air palette to blend that green out into my brow. I took a slightly darker green to really deepen my crease. And for that pop of yellow in my inner corner, I used the NYX Sola Pan in STFU. And then a quick repeat on the other eye before applying some winged liner. I have a really tough time with wing liner, but I'm learning. The tape helps quite a bit. So I highly suggest using it if you also have hooded eyes. So then it was time to dip back into my NYX Ultimate palette so I could start to add the green cast. Now this process takes quite a while because you need to build the colors. I used a combination of brown, green, and yellow, and layer by layer you have to build it up. I also used foundation at times to help mute and blend it out, and then went back in with more color. So in order to make this look as organic as possible, it's really important that you build color little bits at a time. It keeps it looking natural, organic, and realistic. And remember, spots that you want to reseed, like cracks or crevices, should be dark and in shadow, and spots that you want to come out, come forward, and come toward you should be highlighted. It's also a good idea to put in speckles and spots because it sort of mimics a skin texture. So I did that with a combination of hand dotting and then stippling. Once I was happy with the way that the skin was looking, I wanted to get a little highlight to the roots, so I grabbed some water-based paint and a really bright green color that I felt would look good as a highlight on the roots. And finally, I gave it a little dimension by adding shadow to all the deepest parts of the roots. Then a little extra color, which was a little brown and a little yellow, just to give it more character. Next, I needed to create the wood texture on my skin. I used a very dry, bristled brush with just a tiny, teeny bit of paint on the ends, and then dragged down my face using dark brown, medium brown, and white to create that sort of wood grain texture. I followed that with very thin black lines to mimic the deeper cuts in the wood, and then blended them out so they weren't quite so obvious. I also made sure to use that same technique to highlight the high points of my face. And then I used a smaller bristle brush to create texture and shadow and deeper sections of wood. Then it was time to contour, making sure to not forget to darken the ears. Then taking the NYX Jumbo Milk Pencil, I created a spot for my Ladybug beauty mark. Now, I really apologize. I don't have the best camera in the world, so it was very hard to see the detail on the ladybug, but here are just the few steps, but I tried. I then went back to the NYX Ultimate palette to finish off my eyes. And the NYX Milk Pencil once again to sketch out the artwork on my chest. So to create the butterfly, I started with some orange water-based face paint, simply filling out each shape and then getting rid of the milk pencil line as soon as it was complete. And then taking some black water-based paint and the smallest brush I had, I slowly worked on the black outline detail. I know the video is moving fast, but this was a very, very slow process, little bits at a time. In fact, in some spots, I simply stippled each line, so it was only one dot at a time to make sure that it was thin and that it was going in the right direction, because working with your hand backwards towards your chest is so hard to do. Next, I grabbed some white water-based paint and I added all of the little tiny cute dots that extend around the wings and gave the inner wing a little bit of a highlight. Now, I'm sorry if any of this is out of focus. I do have it zoomed in quite a bit so you can see as much detail as my camera could capture. I finished this little guy off by cleaning up any edges and adding some shading with eyeshadow. Adding what's called a drop shadow makes it feel like the butterfly is 3D and coming up off the skin, and it's one of the best things you can do to take an image like this to the next level. Now, with those same techniques, I created a blue butterfly on the other side. And then it was time to start on the bodice. My plan here was to create a wood bodice with a heart in the center, and that heart is a flower, so it's like the heart of the forest. I've never painted a flower like this before, so this will be a first for me. Then I also went ahead and brought my tree face down into a neck corset. I love neck corsets. I think they're so pretty, and I felt like this could feel like the trunk of the tree, and then it grows up into the roots into my hair, so it sort of tells a story. And I did this using the same technique I did on my face, using a very dry, coarsely bristled brush with dark brown, light brown, and white, and then outlining with black to give it that shadow. Then I started on the vines that extend up my chest and onto my face with some green water-based paint, and then I started on the heart in the center. I apologize, I didn't capture this the best, but I also was trying not to show more of me than you needed to see. So what I did was start with a base pink color, and then grabbed some darker pink shadow and created sort of the shadow of the petal as it descends down into the flower. And I did that for each petal. And then went back in and highlighted the edges of the petals with white, blending it down into the pink. So I just built one petal at a time all the way towards the center. Next, it was time to add any remaining shadow and depth to the bodice, to my neck corset, to the butterflies. I also added another little yellow flower, and to the vines. And I did all of that using a combination of black shadow and black water-based paint. Finally, I grabbed these tiny jewels and added them to my forehead to give that area just a bit more character. And all that was left was lips and eyes, so I took some glitter glue, chunky glitter, and the powder puff, added lashes and a little styling, and the look was complete. I want to thank you so much for joining me on this adventure. I hope you enjoyed it. This particular character was so important to me because I love nature so much and it's such a part of my heritage. And being a Native American in makeup is so rare, it was fun to share something that was representative of my culture. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.